Okay, here's the thing. It's not exactly top tier, but there is certainly something that makes me want to review it. Its premise, like the movies, is undeniably original and unique. So, is it worth playing? Let's find out. First problem that we encounter when getting to know this game is that as of 2024, it's a complete and total abandonware for PC version. But we can always find resources where you can download the game absolutely for free, so let's do that. There probably isn't a single soul in this world who hasn't watched this movie when they were too young to watch it, so I'll skip the premise, okay? If you haven't watched it, do, because it deserves your time and your nerve cells. It is certified good shit. But what I can tell you is that it deals with an alien life form that crash landed in the Antarctic and is trying to assimilate the entire world with its organism. Now, onto the video game. Conveniently enough, the events of the game take place right after the end of the movie, 3 months later, if we're being accurate. A special ops soldier is sent to the American outpost to conduct a recon mission and figure out why the hell has the polar station gone radio silent. The main character, called Blake, is a dude. A dudest dude that has ever dudeth. In the events of this game, you won't learn anything about him, or his life, his hobbies, like who he mains in Dota 2, or whether he's been to the Limp Bizkit concert or not. Oh wait, this is 1982, never mind. I have to say that I've got the Thing HD mod enabled, which you can download and save your eyes from the glorious resolution downscale of the 2000s. I really don't understand how starved we were for entertainment that we sat through 640 by 480 resolution bullshit. It's like coming back to an abusive husband hoping that today he'll quickly pass out from all the booze and you get to live to fight another day. I am sorry to draw this parallel, but this game is like that, an abusive relationship. Because why the fuck, in the licensed game of The Thing that was blessed by John Carpenter himself, we aren't playing as MacReady? Instead of that, we have a faceless soldier. How fucking original and in the spirit of The Thing it is, where everything was built around different characters in the research base. But I digress. So, you're the leader of Squad Beta. See, even in video games we can't escape being called Beta, now can we? Oh well. You're in charge of the reconnaissance mission of figuring out what went down in the research base. Sounds simple enough. Maybe they drank too much of GB and had a gay orgy. Wouldn't be the first time. First level is pure fan service, because you get to explore the burnt remains of the American Antarctic research base where the movie took place. Remember this place, or that place, or this voice recording that Kurt Russell made in the movie. And what's this? Childs is dead, putting to rest the theory that he was the Thing. John Carpenter considers the game canon, so there you go. You can finally let go of the 40 years old squabble over who was the Thing at the end of the movie. Rest in peace, Keith David. I really liked you in Saints Row 4. You know, the best one. And boy, watch out for that environmental damage. It's represented by a temperature meter and can be summarized in one sentence. Don't stay out in the cold for too long, dumbass. But in reality, there won't be any situations that would benefit you from venturing into the vast unknown in the Antarctic blizzard. You just stand close to the blue markers and quickly get inside most of the time. It's so simple and so boring that I don't know why they bothered with the temperature system in the first place. It's worthless, man. Fake tits on a zombie. Later, our dude bro protagonist has a change of heart and decides to find all the soldiers that scattered like Lego pieces throughout the Norwegian and American research bases and reunite with the Alpha team. They scattered because they were attacked by the Thing. And you will have to decide who's infected and who's not. Well, that's the premise anyway. The reality is much different, but we'll get to it when we get to it. So this wasn't your initial mission, but I guess the Alpha team got his pizza order, or they got his pocket pussy or something, I don't know. Now is a good time to take a peek behind the curtain of the developmental process of the Thing. The 6th generation of consoles was not handling well the aspirations of the developers, who initially wanted to make the Thing an open world game, and not a linear experience that we got instead. This was 2002, when open world was still a relatively new notion, and few studios flirted with the idea. This would be interesting to see how this might have turned out if they actually pursued this line of development. Probably not very good though, because open worlds of the 2000s tend to be very empty and uninspiring. Unfortunately, the developers decided to make the game more action-focused due to the rising hype of the third-person shooter games across the markets. Most levels are action horror, not survival horror, which isn't within the theme of the Thing like at all. I feel like the developers watched Alien and Aliens and said, yeah, let's go make the things. That's what the movie was all about, right? This is one of two gripes I have against them. The other one is story-tied, and even though I hate spoilers, I'll tell you all about it because it's a complete game changer for me. So, you find the paranoid alpha team leader who makes you take the blood test. Nothing wrong about that, you should always do that with potential sexual partners. But then you get separated due to loading screen wizardry, or maybe he went to take a shower first, I don't know. But then you are reunited at last. Two leaders, Alpha and you, pathetic beta male. And here's what's going down. The Alpha team leader gets infected and he feels it changing him inside. I don't need to bring out the Thing Bible to tell you that it's not how it works. When you get assimilated, you're the Thing. Period. There is no transitory moment where you resist the change on the molecular level. You're either human or the Thing. No in between. But I guess the developers didn't pay attention to the movie so much, because they inexplicably included this weird moment of hoorah, heroism and homosexual bonding in their game. I wrote them countless emails, but all I got is a restraining order, so my attempts to assimilate clearly came to naught. Get it? Yeah. But seriously, this is the second big thing I wanted to mention. It's bizarre and totally unnecessary, because Blake already knows about the infection, so this scene adds nothing to the story except confusion and frustration of fans. But enough about that, because this is where things get weirder. The reviewers were inexplicably positive on the game. IGN called the thing immersive and enjoyable, giving it 8.5 rating. GameSpot called it great and gave it 8.4 points, saying that it's hard not to appreciate the thing for all it does. They claim that a unique blend of puzzle solving, team management and action works really well. I say they're full of shit. And this is why I would rather let my child become an underage BDSM sex worker in Brazil instead of becoming a video game journalist. Just look at this. This game is 8.5, right? Max fucking Payne got 8.1 and this game is 8.5. Do you have any further questions? I rest my fucking case. Moving on. Figuring out what happened to Americans and Norwegians is the closest we get to the movie in terms of feel and vibe. But then we get inside the Norwegian laboratory. Yeah, I know. That's full of things and it's a corridor shooter central, baby. This is another one of those video game sins that you should actually try to avoid when making your game. How they thought that soldier enemies are a good fit for the Thing story is beyond me. Yes, you heard me. Later on, you're going to fight human enemies as well as things. I can't say I approve, because it reminds me of what alien colonial marines did back in the day. And that game was... Oof. I did not like it at all, for a reason being that in more than half of missions you play against human enemies instead of, you know, xenomorphs. Like, I get that you need to get the plot going, which is evanescent at any point of the game. But in late game, you're really not at the edge of your seat rooting for Mr. Man to kill the things. You're routinely clearing out corridors full of soldiers whose AI is clearly taking a break. You know guys, the real thing was the friends we made along the way. Indeed, throughout the game we will form squads with soldiers we encounter on our merry way. There are three types of teammates: soldiers, engineers and medics. By the way, check this out. This one medic has an uncredited VA done by Liquid Snake. Crazy, right? Anyways, soldiers have the highest accuracy with weapons, engineers can fix junction boxes that we can't, and medics can heal the main character and our comrades. We can issue commands, but their reaction to them can differ. They can even outright ignore them. That's all based on the trust system. Trust is established if you give them guns, ammo, heal them, or use blood tests to show that you're not HIV positive. I mean, to show that you're not the Thing. The trust never hits the same paranoid buttons as the film does. This system was made that way due to technical constraints, according to the developer's interview. If your comrade in arms see too much shit in combat or encounter some fucked up stuff like viscera or dismembered corpses, this will put them on edge. They might even vomit or piss themselves, and we've all been there, right? They might start shooting at nothing at all. They can spaz out, and finally, they will give themselves lead poisoning straight through the head. You can help them by giving an adrenaline shot or leading them away from the fucked up scene. But since we're talking about the thing, we have to talk about the infection system. Blake himself never gets infected, so that's a huge deflation of suspense right there, because it would be cool if your character could also get infected, which means you're fucked now, and now it's Among Us kind of situation where you need to assimilate everyone. But no, you're Mr. Invincible, you ate your vegetables and your mom is truly proud of you and your line of work. As for your comrades though, it's game on. It's possible for them to get infected. The infection is based on two things. First is their direct contact with the thing, and second is that sometimes the game demands them to become infected. It is indeed story-bound and scripted, you can't go around it. And that is the game's biggest flaw, because you will be replaying a level because you died, and you already know who gets to be burned alive. The paranoia from potential infection is there only the first time. So it's not manifested in its full glorious scale. Because the main problem is that you can't do blood tests on teammates and they'll be fine, but when you hit the scripted event, it's fire o'clock. Unlike the movie, you can't outsmart the thing, which the OG motion picture was all about. It was a deadly chess match and you can't chuck your JB at the computer this time. Sadly, compared to the movie, there is no attachment to the characters that run along with you. After finishing several missions, you already know the routine that you're going to have to go through. You find a new teammate, you give him weapons, you bond with him, he progresses with you through the mission, and then you kill him when he gets infected or he dies. There is no suspense in these things, it's only a question of time. You either kill their infected ass or they disappear after a loading screen. Oh, and if they die before their scripted event, it's an instant game over. The developers originally intended for the infection system to work completely at random, so different characters could get infected each time, but they had to scrap the idea due to technical difficulties. And that, I think, would have improved the game greatly. That's what's missing in this game, the element of surprise, the suspense, the paranoia. The studio shut down when they were working on the sequel, and judging by the information I have, they were focusing on improving the infection system. You know, it would be so great for this game to have a truly random infection chance, with you having to watch your comrades in arms behave slightly differently, which will be a tell that they are indeed infected. However, the technology simply wasn't there yet. That's why this horror became a shooter. Another callback to the 2000s is that this game has manual save points. And thank God for them, because you're going to die a lot due to unforeseen circumstances like a friendly fire or a grenade that you tossed the wrong way. Seriously, grenades in this game are something that you really don't have any control of, like receding hairline. The AI of comrades is pretty smart for its time, pathfinding is nice, they're almost never stuck and try to conserve ammo. But be warned not to get into their line of fire, because friendly fire sure hurts like a bitch. And actual fire also hurts like a motherfucker. Seriously, a single flame can wreck your shit faster than you realize that you're standing in a slightly warm spot. Combat is the meat and potatoes of this game, and this is a third-person shooter from the early 2000s through and through. It has bare-bones elements of any game from that era. There is no recoil from weapons, you can switch to first person to aim better, but you can't walk in this mode, weapon variety is very limited, and you can't switch to auto-aim if you'd like. I went with the mouse look first and then changed to auto-aim. A big plus for auto-aim is that it has a colored reticle that shows you how much health does the thing have. That way you'll know when to whip out a flamethrower to finish off bigger threats. And speaking about that, there are two types of weapons in this game: ballistic, like assault rifles and shotguns, and fire-spewing weapons like blowtorch. Smaller things can be destroyed by ballistic weapons, no problem. It's the bigger monsters you need to be afraid of. Blowtorch and flamethrowers are essential in killing bigger things, as they have to be shot by ballistic weapons first to weaken them and then be burned to crisp with your fire weapon. Just like in the movie, every piece of their mutated bodies regenerates, so you need to stop that process by introducing them to your friend Mr. Flamethrower. Which is probably the only friend I have. Jesus, that's depressing. Thank God I don't own a gun anymore. Boss fights are an absolute nightmare if you're playing with the mouse look. They don't give you enough information about what you're supposed to be doing. Where should you aim? Where should I stand? Do I even deal damage to it? The last one is especially painful, because you're going to die a lot without understanding where to aim at. For better or worse, auto-aim is essential in boss fights. And here's another nut punch for you. Final boss is a turret sequence. Seriously, you mount a helicopter gun piloted by a friendly face and shoot the thing in the thing. I am pretty vocal about my attitude towards turret sections. They plagued the gaming ecosystem in 2010s, and we're just starting to recover from them. Man, I still go to therapy. And this one was ahead of its time, but I'm not saying that in a positive tone, sadly. Making a final boss fight as a gimmick is a bad way to ruin your game. They should have known better. Now, let's talk about visuals and audio, shall we? Shit. I really don't have that much to say about the graphics and audio. Now, I was about to ask ChatGPT to write me a passage about it, but that piece of shit thinks that the thing takes place in the Arctic, and I can't be blamed for being a fake news channel. So here's what I got instead. Darkness and vastness of blizzard and great outdoors is something that draws you in first couple of minutes, if that. But other than that, it's just snowy locations that are absolutely desolate and void of human life. You won't be missing them while doing indoor missions. There is no exploration element while being outside. You're just racing against your temperature clock to get inside, so the developers didn't put any effort in making interesting outdoor environments. But hey, it's the Antarctic. There's only so much you can do with outdoors. But sadly, indoors are also barren and nothing to look at. If I asked my 5-year-old nephew, and Christ do I sound old saying this, to draw a picture of an inside of a polar research base, it would be exactly like this game, only prettier colors. The locations are simply not interesting. There's a polar base and a laboratory, nothing else. Variety is not this game's strongest suit. Gore is okay. I feel they could do more with it and be more creative with monsters, and judging from the concept art they made for the potential sequel, they wanted more as well, but we get what we get. Soundtrack called in sick and did not appear for this game. As in, there is no music in this game at all. Which is nice. You can finally catch up with your favorite podcast while roasting things, always a good idea with them true crime series. Or better yet, play the movie soundtrack while playing this game. This will get you in the right mood. And speaking of the movie soundtrack, well, sadly it isn't used in the game, which would elevate it greatly. The main theme that is so absolutely bleak and hopeless would work miracles with this obsolete piece of data. Animations are dated. But then again, this game is 22 years old. Many of my viewers weren't even born at that time, and that's not a criticism. I like minors. That came out wrong. I like the models. Considering the year they've been made, they are serviceable and not unpleasant to look at. In comparison with other games released in that era, models aren't obsolete and outdated. You can still have fun and not retch from looking at them. Just like Max Payne, they're photographs of real people, probably from the dev studio, but these blokes don't look like programmers unlike those gangsters from Remedy Entertainment, so they get a pass. Oh, and speaking of models, director and hardcore gamer John Carpenter, rest in peace, appears in this game as a character called Faraday that is modeled after him. Voice acting sounds like all the voice actors only have the thing as their VA credit. And that's exactly how it sounds most of the time. Which, to my shock, isn't half bad. They even got Smoking Man from X-Files to voice the big bad in this game. I can't praise this game like I would Legacy of Kain or Portal, but it gets the job done. Voice lines do get you immersed in this game, which is their main function. And that's it. And that's the thing. It doesn't suck, but it's not the game I would sing praises about. The squad-based element is the right way to approach the IP, but it fails to deliver a believable infection system that would actually puzzle the gamer and instill the sense of paranoia. Instead of that, we're giving annoying scripted moments of infection that we can't do anything about, and boss fights that don't telegraph enough information about how to approach them. And again, ending your entire game with a turret section is a bold move. But Computer Artworks is a bold company with bold moves that made them bankrupt. I do not know how much money they paid reviewers to get such glowing recommendations. I'm not going to say that I would rather get cancer than replay this game, but I definitely think that as far as licensed games go, this one is middle of the road, and there is nothing worse than being mediocre, because it's not going to be a memorable experience. I played it once when I was younger, and it didn't leave a lasting impression on me, and mind you, I was such a kid that could bond with a fucking pencil that I used in my drawing classes. I still remember you, Benjamin. But this game doesn't have enough elements to evoke the feelings of terror and general uneasiness. like the ones you get from prolapsed hemorrhoids. Which is something that I feel the Thing should have done, you know? It's the fucking Thing. 40 years and it still stands as a testament to practical effects and sterile directorial work that brought us wonderful sense of bleak, dread and paranoia. This game should have pursued the same themes. I would rather have something like Silent Hill or Resident Evil maybe, and not Half-Life, you know? Troubled history plagued John Carpenter's classic horror film. At first, it took nearly a decade to get made, then the script was given to another director before coming back to Carpenter, and finally it had a theatrical release that was overwhelmingly disappointing. In the end though, it found its identity as a cult classic on smaller screens, and arguably stands as one of the best horror films ever made. And so The Thing has seen similar troubled history in video game format. This is me rambling, but I wanted the game to make an homage to the movie, not just in the first mission alone, but in the entire setting of the game. Who do you trust? How can you trust? Not the corridor shooter we ended up with. Dial down on violence and let it play out like a session of Among Us and see how it plays wonders on our vivid imagination. When dealing with an IP such as this one, who actually needs another third-person shooter? This was a terrible idea executed in the most mediocre way. The Thing really didn't assimilate the genre too well, and that's not how it should have died in the flames of mediocrity. Thanks for watching.